All right, hey, thanks for tuning in for today's Simply Test Me stream. Um, if you aren't familiar, or if you didn't know rather, words are hard on Monday, we launched the new version of Simply Test Me finally. So if you go to simplytest.me, you have the new Drupal 9 React frontend with the Drupal 9 backend. Yeah, so the work since January this year has finally come true. But of course, with every launch, we got some bugs. So today's going to be going through these bug reports and fixing a few things, determining like what's a bug, what's a task, and what's a feature request. Before I get that far, I would like to thank our service providers and sponsors. So Tugboat, simply all of our sandbox environments are provided through Tugboat, which is the fastest platform to automate the creation of preview and test environments. I use them for my client projects. So thanks Tugboat, they're basically, when you launch a test site, that's what you get. And Amazy.io, they're hosting the new version in kind through their Managed Lagoon cloud hosting platform. So it's really nice that our open source platform is hosted on an open source platform as well. Thanks to our development partners, QED42 has provided their front-end developer time. And then Bluehorn Digital, disclaimer, my own company, sponsors these live development streams and various maintenance. Thanks to also all of our sponsors. Centauro is a monthly organization sponsor on the Open Collective. And of course, recognition to Maloon and Druid for their long-standing support as infrastructure providers of Simply Test. Before there was Tugboat and before the new hosting setup, they provided all the servers to let this service run. And thanks to anybody who has donated past or present on Open Collective to sustain the project. All right, so let's get to it. I'm just going to go ahead and anything that says new, I know needs to be worked on. Cache tag Persian with CDN on Lagoon. That is one thing that need to be worked. So let's go here. So whenever trying to add additional projects, get errors. So try with select two boxes module and entity autocomplete hierarchy. I also tried with some other combinations. So let's try that because this was working. Actually, not on the. Let's not do the dev environment. Let's try it on the local. So they tried with select two boxes. They picked additional projects. And they search for entity autocomplete hierarchy. And let's do some debugging. One thing I want to work on too today possibly is a way to capture the payload that gets sent, because that makes it easier to reproduce. So we have here. So it's saying that the short name was empty. We can actually go to the context here. And if we look at the additional projects, the short name is empty. And I can't even edit this drop down anymore. All right, well, there we go. That was a lot easier to reproduce than I expected. Copy to clipboard. What happens when I copy it? It's full JSON. Sweet. So that's something new that I just learned. If you're using the React Dev Tools and you're viewing props for a context provider or something else, you can copy the contents to the clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here. And let's cut that line. Value selected project, additional projects, set. Let's cut out some of these things. All right, there's the value. And let's cut this up to major. Thanks for the issue report. I was able to reproduce. For some reason, when this additional project is selected, the state isn't updated. I checked the React context and the value wasn't bubbled up. Bubbled up. So we also need to do some error handling slash and not just slash and validation before submitting the form. So let's triage this a bit. Problem motivation, steps produce. Let's go put the proposed resolution in here. Add validation to make sure additional project is not empty. Well, I mean, if it's empty, that's not it. Proposed resolution, I don't have one. Because in my opinion, if you were to have this be, that's not even working either. All right, so that's hosed. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this to me. And I think this will be the main bug I work on for this stream, because that's a really big one. Can't choose branch for additional projects. All right, actually, thanks for reporting. I'm going to mark this as a duplicate with the other issue I just triaged. There's something happening with the additional projects component. So let's go ahead. We're going to mark this duplicate. The state is not properly updating for some reason. So user interface, call that duplicate. Let's copy the issue ID to make it related. Also, thanks for the detailed bug report. It's always nice having a detailed bug report. So let's save this. And I wish I could add parent issue. I wish I could give, I wish I could add somebody for issue credit. Note. Can we give credit to TR for additional in-depth bug report? And we're going to retitle this. Let's see. What is this component? If we were to go into our React bits, or rather, I don't even need to go to the React bits. I can go to components. I can click select an element to inspect it. Let's look at this additional projects. Well, this has all been modified. So I'm going to actually look into the themes, lib, and components, additional projects. Did a paste before I searched. Where does this come from? So we get in advanced options, we have the field set and then the additional projects component. So additional projects component is not updating state context value when projects added. Updating title to reflect bigger bug. You cannot can't type. I cannot type. You cannot change the branch value or even clear the autocomplete value. So there's something really goofy happening here. Strange JavaScript problem. Let's see here. In the autocomplete for the project name, when I start typing, one of the autocomplete choices is always SI field. Oh, that's weird. That's goofy. Here, let's refresh. What is going on with this build? All right, this is downshift. Okay. Drop down does not clear once a selection or autocomplete drop down does not clear once selection is made. This is super weird. I was able to reproduce fairly quickly. I clicked, chose an option, and the remaining the items from the drop down persisted and weren't cleared from the DOM. I also have no idea why SI field shows up for everything. I've got a feeling, actually, you know what? Yeah, what? Why is that there? Hold on. You know, everything was all gravy and good in QA, and now this. What? In the world? Feeling part of it has to do with the like query and empty spaces. That's just for SI fields showing. I don't know why the component for downshift is all wacky. I'm wondering if fixing that other issue, let's see, let's copy this issue. I wonder if working on the related additional projects issue will uncover anything. That's so weird. Why was it working before, but now it's completely hosed? That's not fun. So let's embed that screenshot. I think we could at least fix that autocomplete, maybe, and like make it be reproducible. So allow selection of PHP version. This is definitely a feature that we want to add. I'm going to add notes. One of the a blocker or part of this issue is that we need to make it colon. We leverage base previews in Tugboat. Base previews need to have the same image, I believe. So we need to provide a way to programmatically define base previews and refresh them. Right now, they're actual branches on the source GitHub repo, which is harder to maintain. Not a big problem, but documenting for myself later on. this, oh, maybe this one, unknown revision. Wait, ambiguous argument. Unknown revision or path not in the working tree. So that's definitely a bug. Let's bump this to major. I'm going to assign it to me. Bumping. Looks like we need a code get fetch. Since the get data is stale, so let's save that. Footer links do not link to policies, can confirm. Yeah, I don't remember what the links went to before because the old site is down, so that needs to be done. Buttons on the bottom of the page don't do anything. Buttons on the bottom. Oh, report a problem and follow. Okay, those are two different things. These are very similar. There's a low-hanging fruit. I'll probably do off the stream. Syntax error when adding patches. Well, that's fun. I'm guessing the syntax error means the backend had a non-JSON response. Unfortunately, am I logged into the main site? Nope. Unfortunately, we may not, or hopefully I can reproduce. Working on adding more observability items and ways to report these failures, like having an option to copy the response. That's going to be one thing I need to do, is add some quality of life items for this. Maybe that's what I should do first. Let's see. Add content by bundle is still not available. Let's see. This is going to take a bit. Add content by bundle. Is it this one? Smart date. Wait, add content by bundle. Yeah, so that's there. Let's do add content by bundle. What is this? Oh, why is this showing up twice now? Oh man, what happened between the launch? You gotta be kidding me. Oh, and that just oh. Note, it wasn't automatically imported like like most. I didn't get the full project importer to run. To run. It showed up when I searched using the machine name, which forces an import. Whenever there's a project search miss, we try to import for you. I'm guessing it didn't work until I typed in the machine name manually. Note, we're experiencing some weird problems with search and the downshift drop down autocomplete library. Well, okay, let's take Smart Date Calendar Kit. Okay, Smart Date. Let's just hold on. What I should do is Lagoon SSH into prod and project source commands, project commands. We have get release data, core version updates. Okay, this lets us get this update's only a project. We don't have an import. Wait, import source form. Okay, we never got that far. So we've got a lot of little things that we need to do. Let's copy this, paste it. Date Smart Starter Kit, Calendar Kit, and Smart Date. I quick did the search autocomplete auto import for the above projects. Let me know if they show up. So we're going to say postpone maintainer means no more info because I want to find out if it worked or not. All right, so let's get this started. So we need to figure out why the autocomplete is being really wonky. If I were to type commerce, well, that didn't even, there we go, commerce core. Let's do authnet, Braintree. So if I search commerce and I click authnet, it's not showing here. So that makes me think there's something with the build. And of course, this is just a real big. So, okay. We shouldn't be using the gulp file anymore. Because all the styling should be going through. I wonder if we just have a bad JavaScript build. So let's see. We don't set the engine in here. What's this? Installed version 6.3 doesn't match the version range. Oh, so that could be one problem. So I guess let's go to that folder and open in terminal. Let's do, what is it? Npm install. I think what really needs to happen is like this has got to be cleaned up. As it was here and then it got adjusted. We're using post CSS for everything. Okay. So is this fixed now? Run npm install, more actions. What? All right, let's see if that, I don't use npm. I usually use yarn, and this got set up with npm. Let's just go ahead and do All right, we've got Laravel mix. Why do we have Laravel mix purge CSS? Oh, because we're on Laravel mix 5. Why do we shouldn't need purge CSS. Okay, we have all this post CSS, React DOM, Tailwind. I'm using Tailwind in the React app. We have downshift. We have all this gulp stuff that shouldn't be needed. All right, let's see. I'm going to take a step back and try to clean up all the CSS. Because it was Sass, and then I made the recommendation we move to post CSS. So we have React here, post CSS, the Tailwind, purge CSS, here, Webpack config, browser sync. Oh, wait a second. All right, revamped launcher form. All right. Yeah, this definitely is not set up correctly. So purge should go in here. Right. Let's go, as I can never remember, Tailwind CSS. Let's look at the documentation. If we install via Laravel, because that's the easiest way. So we should have, where's the package.json? So we should have post CSS somewhere in here. Yep. Auto prefixer. Yep. It's all over the place, but there it is. npx init purge. Okay. So we need to move. Let's move this. Let's move that. Configure Laravel mix. So post CSS, we have here options. Here we go. Let's delete that. It should be updated. Require Tailwind CSS. We can remove that. Why is this? Oh, because these should be an array. Fix the current file prettier. Thank you. Unexpected global require. Sure. All right, so that should have Laravel. Yep, that should have Laravel mix and Tailwind all figured up, which means that I can delete this Laravel purge CSS. I added that when we didn't need it. Which let's actually remove it the proper way with, what is it, like npm remove Laravel mix purge CSS. Styles, where is, so we have base. There's a, why is there a post CSS config in here? We shouldn't need that. Is gulp running the post CSS? I think that might be it. Watch CSS, gulp, build CSS, partials, CSS. Oh, because it's using post CSS partials. Okay, so it's combining post CSS custom media. What is this doing? That's in, okay. CSS import, properties nested, auto prefixer, sort, post styles. So where is this outputting it? compatibility IE8, we definitely don't need that. Path styles, destinations, disk, CSS. So is this double adding Tailwind into here? No. Define mix and why? All right, so there's only those few items that are in here. I guess I'm not going to try and clean this up because it's all, because there's a lot. All right, well, let's do Npm Audit at least. And then I'm going to do a production build locally and see if I can replicate what's going on in our production, because I cannot. Jeez. Did that literally just say fix right meow? Oh, depends on vulnerable versions. Like, why is there? All right. Npm Audit Fix. Let's just do fix. Try to get some things updated. And oh, that's great. Found auto prefixer 9.8 in the root project. Cannot resolve 10. So that's okay. We can fix that. Auto prefixer. Sure. We'll say 10.4 or 10.3.4. We do not need to make Webpack a dependency because we're leveraging Webpack from Laravel Mix. So let's do that. So maybe this will be cleaned up if we can get rid of a lot of these extra dependencies that were defined in here. Yeah, why are we targeting IE8 in that gulp script? I don't know. Probably because that was what was in there before. Compatibility, I don't know. Clean CSS options. So I will try. Oh, okay. I'm gonna run npm install again. Thanks for the tip. After, well, I assumed that it fixed it when I did npm audit because it failed before. Npm install up to date. Audited 3,000 packages. I am so glad that I like working in the front end, but the whole just the tree model of dependencies in npm just like blows my mind. In the node world, whereas like Composer has a very flat structure. So if you haven't really dug into different package management systems, it's one of, you have, let's do, why didn't Laravel Mix even show up? But let's say you have, silent render or what? Okay, something's got to have. So like string decoder, we use that, but it has its own dependencies of safe buffer. So everything has its own dependencies nested underneath itself, instead of just, saying that you would share the same safe buffer between packages, which helps prevent on conflicts. Like if you use Composer, you get a lot of conflicts sometimes, but you could have the same package 10 times in your node modules, but at different versions, because all packages use something different. Just the way it goes. All right, so let's try to do a build. Try to do production. So, all right, hold on, build. So yeah, we're still using gulp CSS in here. Let's see, Laravel Mix, post CSS. I want to see how we can trim this up a bit. All right, we got an error. Great. Tailwind.pcsc post CSS. Lib tailwind. Post CSS plugin requires post CSS 8. That's right. So let's just go back to tailwind installation and just run the command. Just copy this and try to avoid any. Shoot. I'm in the theme. I've had the mistake of running npm install and not the correct directory. And it doesn't warn you that there isn't a package.json. It just creates it. All right, removing dependencies, that cleans up. So it moved it from a dependency to dev dependency. Let's go ahead and run the production build again. Yeah, if we can get this, if I can get us to Laravel mix 6, it cleans up the commands. You have post CSS 8. Added one package, removed one. All right, let's run the build. Why? All right, RMFF, node modules. Actually, I should have just done npm CI because that deletes it and then reinstalls it. Because I've also had the problem where you do npm install and it modifies the lock file, which I don't understand why an install operation modifies the lock. Let's just do npm CI. Because npm CI is the most reliable way to get a build off of a lock file using npm. Whereas if you use yarn, you can trust that it uses the lock file and does not modify it on yarn install. So we'll see if this fixes anything. Use the new URL search params API instead. Oh, jeez. Well, looks like we will be, part of this will be cleaning up a lot of JavaScript stuff. Let's run production. I wonder, is there a way to get, I don't even want to try accidentally running it, but to get verbose output, one thing I do like about Composer is it does tell you like downloading the package names and what it's locking them to. So you see the versions it installs. But when you run npm install, it's just that progress line. And doesn't run. All right, I am going to just not do anything. Log level verbose. Okay. I feared there had to be a way, but I am honestly going to just not touch this right now. I'm going to take all this and revert because nothing's working. So I'm going to do npm CI, but I'm going to try log level verbose. Pause indexing. Oh, dang, that's like super verbose. npm docs. It's curious to see. So I always wonder what it means by reify. Like, does it mean like it's redoing something? So this is building like a tree, config loaded. So it's fetching the advisories. So it's showing me the project names when it completes, but it's not showing the actual versions. Which I know I could do like npm list to get the dependency tree list. But it's just npm CLI. Let's look at the legacy because I think I'm on 6, or this is on 6. Actually, I think I am on 7. Which is where I wish we could move this build out of just local. So that way we could get everybody on the same page, but I don't think we have anybody else really running this. So it's a problem, but not a priority problem. So CLI commands, I'm curious. npm CI and npm install. So install. Oh, npm can actually read a .lock file? Oh, that's interesting. Configuration save exact. What's save exact do? Configured with the exact version rather than a semver range operator. So that's still running. Package lock. Set to false, then ignore package lock when installing. Omit. Fun dry run workspaces, workspace. What's omit do? Oh, that's how you can prevent deb from being installed. So I guess log level is just like a global option, and there isn't necessarily one just for here. All right, I'm just curious to see. All right, let's run the production build again. So this production in the package JSON is just Laravel mix, which is only doing the React and JavaScript. It was not configured to also run the CSS build for the little bit of theme CSS, which we probably, like, after looking at this, I don't think we really need to have post CSS. Like, it's a really simple site, and we have CSS variables at our hands. The only benefit it's giving us, I guess, is having nested whatever you call it, declarations. That's the word. Tailwind is not purging unused styles. So okay, so I can fix that. I'm gonna just fix that warning because that is something we can clean up, where I configured this wrong to begin with. Because it purges in there. And we can disable that. And this, which we call require in there, and delete these 2 lines and add suppress. And let's just fix the file with prettier. I'm going to run production once more. Oh, okay. So it totally worked. This way. Hold on. Let's see if I just delete that one line. How was it even working then before? Post CSS is at 8. All right. I'm just gonna leave it because I don't know. All right. It's one of those things like you just ignore it because it works, and I'll audit all this at a later time. But I can mix the purge. I can remove this at least. Npm remove. It's like, why can't I reproduce that bug here? What I should do is, let's see, if we have dev.simplytest.me, did we get this configured up? Why is this giving an error? It's a certificate from CDN. Proceed. So that's working. Let's see, UI Lagoon. All right. But we have interesting development problems with SimplyTest because the core code is on Drupal.org as a profile, but we have a website repository that's plugged into Amazy. And with Amazy, we have preview environments, but I can't just throw up code and test it on Amazy without some extra workarounds. So this is a conundrum because I can't reproduce what's going on. Let me log out. Maybe let me log out and let's see. You know what? I wonder if, let's go to sites, default, local. All right, let's turn on CSS pre-processing. I have caching enabled. All right, let's do I don't think I need to, but we'll do drush, or a ddev drush cache rebuild. I wonder if it's broken with CSS aggregation. But in the library, I've minified as true, which avoids it from doing pre-process. So if we look at the optimized CSS, no, asset collector, asset collection optimizer interface. Let's look at JS. So optimize JS assets. It groups the assets. Let's look at the grouper. Oh, if you're curious, these all live inside lib Drupal core asset, and this is all around the library collection, or like in Drupal, we call them libraries. It's a series of CSS and JS that are grouped together in specific locations. So that way we can have a page that only has certain CSS that in JavaScript that it actually needs. And we can then create different file aggregates per page as needed, or they can be reused if they have the same assets. So that's just what I want to look at now. So this is the grouper. Puts items in the same group if they are groupable and for the same browsers. So file, group file, if their pre-process flag is true. So I think that might be the bug. Even though it says it's minified, it hasn't been optimized, but it was still grouped together. So group keys, pre-process is set to true. All right, maybe that could be it. So if we look at, we have the groups, type, file. If it's not, no pre-processing, single JS asset, just use the existing URI. Otherwise, it generates a hash for the key. It gets the contents. So if it's minified, or not minified, or we say it is minified, so we get the data raw and it gets grouped together and dumped into an aggregate. So I bet if we reload this page, we're going to see that we receive our React app inside the Drupal CSS or JavaScript aggregates, and that's probably the bug. So like if we look at sources, you'll see here CSS. It's an aggregated CSS. If we look at JavaScript, we have one JavaScript file that has Drupal's jQuery, which I don't know why it's being attached because nothing should require it. We have Drupal debounce. And then we have here the minified JavaScript application. So if we go and type, what was it? I did commerce. No bug. That's slightly annoying. Let's try. All right. Well, since I have a theory, that means we can try to reproduce it. If I do Lagoon, let's SSH into the Lagoon instance. So my theory is that it's due to JavaScript aggregates or it's just a bad build. And I'm not sure which because I've never seen this happen locally. So one theory is that we say it's minified and pre-processed. Okay, I'm in here. So let's do a drush ULI. I'm gonna copy that URL. And an incognito window will log in, so that way I'm still logged out in my main session. So it's configuration, development, performance. Oh, we should turn that on. Let's turn off aggregation. Let's reload the page, which we need to clear the page cache, the page cache module's cache because it's returning HTML for anonymous users. All right, so if I reload this, we'll see here that site's default themes, it's still returning an aggregate due to, I bet, let's look at the response. So like, I'm not receiving what I would expect. So the first thing I always go do is look at the request. We're getting a 304 because we haven't integrated with the CDN. That Fastly is telling us that nothing was. Okay, so we're getting a hit from the CDN. So that brings us to the issue here of integrate cache tag purging with CDN on Lagoon. So we need to get all those modules. Oh, boy. All right. Oh, great. We can just copy this and it has all those modules. All right. Well, all right. So that's one thing. I can't test this out because the CDN is caching. I wonder if that's also part of it. So let's disable cache, turn off preserving the log, and refresh. All right. So we received the JavaScript from the from Fastly. So we really do need to, I'm going to punt this up to critical. So while trying to debug something on production for this issue, we'll copy the additional projects component issue. I realize I could not see, this is not sponsored by Palantir. We keep hitting the Fastly cache. So let's try to debug, which means without this fix, we may not be able to properly ship JavaScript fixes. All right, so I'm going to go there. All right, So I'm going to work on that next, because if we fix this bug with the advanced projects, we probably won't be able to even ship it out as a fix. So let's go to, let me make sure I have notifications off. Yep. Let's go do the next thing. So let's say we're going to test Commerce Core, additional projects. We want to test Braintree. All right, we're able to reproduce the main bug. That's good. We're not able to reproduce the weird drop-down problem because I got hung up on that, but we're able to reproduce the fact that the state is not updating here. So let's do a profile is not supported because we did production. So let's try doing a, let's do and develop build, or let's run watch package. Let's do a watch, so that way it can run fixes as we go. Oh, but it's going to launch the browser sync. Oh, exited. Cannot find module Laravel purge mix. I thought I removed that. It's going to take a minute while it does all of its wonderful building. All right, so why is this not? So set selected item isn't firing. So let's actually open that component. So components, additional projects. So add additional project. So whenever you click add additional project, it adds an empty value to the array because we use that to expand our list. Let's see, I'm going to close out of Chrome for there. Bring it back over to here. So it's using browser sync, so it's actually doing a proxy to ddev while we get the live reload. But the main thing I want to do, all right, so we got Commerce Core. That debounce is not long enough. I'm supposed to be using debounce to prevent a lot of extra pings to the server. So let's look at our components. Why is this still? Why did it uglify all the names when it should still be? And maybe this is not working like I thought it would. Let's go ahead. 1 second. I'm going to settings.local. This should not be happening. 4. Oh, there's a weird bug too. Why? Core compatible Commerce 8.x1.3. This is supposed to be looking for Braintree. All right. Can I get? So we have add additional projects. So its state has the data here. Additional button true. Applied core constraint is 9.25. Root project version is 8.x1.3. That's not right. The root version is this 2.16. What happens when I click on 9.2? Oh, everything's just broken. No state is updating once we click additional projects. And that's with the dev build too. So this is just a blast right now. Right. Is this going to be happy now? And let me, there we go. Okay. So if I come back in here with the live reload, components, perfect. Okay, let's go to commerce. So if I pick 2.1.6, we see, so all right, let's do a quick smoke test. 2.1.6 was the last release to support just Drupal 8. 2.16, well, various other ones. Support 9.2.5, so we can choose the Drupal core version. If we look at the launch provider in our state, or rather here, so if we change this to 2.16, we can see that can launch and the Drupal version updated. So everything is passing along as it should. Let's click, and then we can see here, set additional projects. Set additional projects is an empty array. Let's click additional project. We get here, it's empty value. And we can still change state. So that's good. If I click the X, it removes it. Add it. All right. I can add 2 if I want. All right, but this is when it breaks. So we picked a value and didn't push it up. Oh, maximum update length. Shoot. All right. This can happen when a component calls set state instead of a use effect, but use effect doesn't have a dependency array or changes in every order in project selection. Let's refresh that because it is going nuts. Okay, so use effect, initial default. Oh, this is right. It's such a mess in here. So let's see, in project selection. So use effect whenever the initial default project changes. If project and project version. I bet it's because we have a dependency on a function. So with the browser sync, it did a reload. Let's see if I can get. Hey, there we go. All right. Way to go, Matt. It's because you put a dependency on a function and your side effect. And when this is called, so technically you could put a dependency on a function. I just screwed up and did it. It's just onChange is a function here. Can I get this as a quick fix to add? No. So when we call project function inside additional projects, so onChange is an anonymous array, or an anonymous function. But the problem is that it's happening inside of a map, which means that that anonymous function is redeclared on every render. So that dependency is constantly being modified, which means that it's eating its own tail. So way to go me for causing it to break. This even has a to-do that this whole state management is a giant cluster, but it looks like that should fix it. So let's go. So if there's a project and a version, we trigger onChange, but the problem is the side effect kept running because the dependency on onChange was constantly being updated. But while we're in here, let's go ahead and update the props for ourselves. So applied core constraint is not required, but has no corresponding default props. So what do we do? How is this used again? Because I don't remember. applied core constraint inside version selector. Applied core constraint. Is a string. So we need to add a default props. So what is it? It's project selection dot default props. Applied core constraint. Null. We'll just say is null, which is weird because you can have a null string. Additional button. This is a boolean. Bool, and we'll say that the default is false. Initial default project. Prop types string. This is also null. And this is because we use the same project selector for this component up here for the main project, but then also in additional projects. And this was my hack on fixing it. But it's proving to be a big pain. So root project version. Prop types string. More and more, I wish we would have done this in TypeScript. Maybe I'm new to TypeScript, but having things that are typed and act like legitimately typed, and not just saying like, oh well, here's the props and this is what we think. Just it helps catch errors a lot faster. So let's go ahead and we're gonna update. Let's create an issue fork, and while it's opening, let's make a comment. I found the problem. I am not sure why this started happening, but it was due to an infinite loop on a side effect and re-render. I was passing an anonymous function to a React side effect inside of the additional projects component for the project selector. This caused the app to basically crash. This MR should fix it up. I'm being a bad developer by also including this fix, so I guess I shouldn't do that. I just want to fix all this stuff up, but let's not do that. I'm going to stop the watch. Let's go ahead and revert. Packers lock. So we have fewer side effects. This purge. Just to prevent, I want to have a nice clean commit. So let's go ahead and do npm CI once more. Let's see, my comment went through? Nope. Let's see this. Let's comment that. The issue fork should be built. So I can add it to my local. Show commands. Finish loading. So I'm going to copy the details so that I can set up my fork and check out the branch. All right, so that's about ready. I want to wait for this npm CI to finish, then do a production build. We should be good to go. What I do actually want to do, this isn't too much of a scope creep, is to say preprocess false. And we can find that throughout the code. I just want to make sure. All right, so that is CK editor has it as itself, so that way it's standalone. Let's do that. Let's copy and paste. So we'll wait for that to finish. And then when I make the merge request, I'm just going to comment like why we made that change, just to help keep it more isolated from any other assets that are loaded on the page. Not that there's many, but there's something there. Then I'm really curious, like, why jQuery is even being included on the page. Like, we have nothing that should be attaching it, because there's no launch controller. This is what launches it. It's highly coupled because like our launcher is calling it from the theme. It's just how it got set up. All right, so we ran that. And by that, I mean I ran npm CI, so we've got fresh dependencies. Let's go to package.json. Let's run build, which will run Laravel mix and gulp build CSS. And hopefully we're in business, and went down the rabbit hole and back up to the top. I was getting kind of worried there that I was going to go in 5,000 directions. Let's see. Then I'm going to make an issue to just remove. Remove Laravel mix purge CSS and properly configure Tailwind. So just a task, minor priority, component, code. Earlier, I made a silly config setup for Tailwind plus Laravel mix. We can drop Laravel mix purge CSS and update the Tailwind config. There's no steps to reproduce. Proposed resolution. Npm remove blah. And let's see, 1 second. Add this to tailwind.config.js purge array. All right, at least I made the issue, so that way I'll finally get to it. We ran the build. So let's go fly a kite. Let's go to the main. Nope, shoot, that's the production site. All right, so sources. We should be loading from the theme, but it's also loading stuff from core because I did not. Why is Claro loading something? Settings.local. Let's put back on CSS processing. All right, there we go. So core is just loading images. Modernizer additional tests. Oh. So that seems to be okay. We go to Commerce Core, additional options, additional project, Braintree. We can pick the dev release, and we're not getting any issues. We can click launch project. All right. Let's see what's going on. We fixed that render issue, but it didn't actually. All right. Fix the render issue, but didn't actually update the state. So I'll take that at least. That's a win. We got this to update, but it's not. It ain't playing ball. Advanced projects. So additional projects. Add additional. Remove additional. Remove extra. This is just such a mess. So on change. So the state management needs a refactor. Yes, this is a hot mess. On change is technically called with each render. The component has no idea if it really changed or not and ends up being called on each render. Yeah. So if the short name does not equal, it's supposed to append and set the additional projects. State effect. So if the short name has been changed for this array key, so let's look at the additional projects. Let's go do a development build again. So we'll do a develop build. I don't want to watch it quite yet. We'll just do a develop build so that way we have a readable output in the debugger console. And hopefully figure this out. We got one step closer at least, like one step closer. Hopefully now we can get to the next step. And I guess I'm finally paying off some technical debt as I kept dancing around some of these hard parts in the React end. All right, so we refresh. Do a hard refresh. Why is it not? Why didn't it do development build? I guess we're going back to a watch because that actually did it. Wait for that to come alive. So additional projects. This logic here handles the fact that it gets called against. So we have our array of additional projects, and we check to see if the short name doesn't match the current key. So like the current change project against the current known version. We then create an array copy. We update that key, and then we push it out into the state. Because JavaScript's really good at passing things by reference, even arrays. So that's why we make a copy. Why is this holding on to? I know why. I updated the libraries.yaml, but I didn't clear the cache for Drupal to find the new libraries. All right. So now be all separated. I hope. All right, there we go. Okay. Before I say there we go again, I think I did it right again. JavaScript ends at Drupal. Well, you got all kinds of things open from before. Is there a way to close all this? Right click, close all. Theme, dist. Great. Okay, we've got the dist. That's going to be the full Tailwind. All right. Let's see why this is broken. So we have Commerce Core. Let's look at additional projects. Let's do hooks. State is true. We have a project selection. Applied core constraint. Additional button is true. Initial default project is null. That's right. That initial stuff was added so we could support the URL query parameters. That also introduced some bugs. But we can see here we have the root project version. This is used for compatibility checks, project autocomplete, and version selector. So we have additional projects. Its state, it just says hooks launcher. State is true. Additional projects, but I don't have anything that says state in here. Just additional projects is a prop. Oh, never mind. It's using use state false. Additional, wait, use launcher. Okay. So the state is the additional button, and that's set there. And that's when I spun it out. So the get history is a little lost. All right. Let's go. Those are the props, but the hooks are set here. So we have the state inside project selection. Additional projects. Oh, hey, we got an error. Let's see. Failed prop type. Invalid prop type. Initial default project of typed object was supplied to project selection. Expected string. All right. Well, let's try and sort this out. So initial project. Say it's an object. Project typed object is forbidden because it needs to be a shape. So let's look here if I defined it. Initial project, here we go. Shape has a short name. All right, so that's one fix, possibly. Versions, I cleared away. So let's do commerce. Additional options, add project, Braintree. Right. So go here. Initial default project is still null. So why did that get cranky before? But let's look here. Value on prop select should not be null. Consider using an empty string to clear the component or undefined for uncontrolled. So let's go to version selector. This is in project selection. Project selector. Version selector. And div at select. Value is selected version, which comes from the props. So initial version. Oh wait, initial version and selected version are the same thing. That's wonderful. Use state initial. Oh boy. All right. So, all right, initial version is passed in here. And this needs to go to the additional projects. So we have project selection, and in here we don't pass any initial because it's an additional project. So let's add an or is null. Okay, it wants full quotes. Sure. Let's see if that satisfies the one error. That's not going to be the full fix, but if we can get at least all the console errors cleaned up, we're somewhere closer. Let's do Braintree. Oh, prop and select should not be null. Version selector. When does it become null though? That's the thing. Selected version. Let's bring that over. So selected version is version, which we default to either be an empty string up here. Initial default version. Now I'm just doing stupid, silly checks just to try to clean it up. And that last one did it. All right, so in here, whenever, there's so many re-renders that are happening, it's not showing, but this whole additional projects thing is a really bad performance hit. So like I said before, we're doing a map over the known additional projects to render the project selection, and inside of it has an anonymous function, and just things are re-rendering all the time. I bet if we pop the profiler, let's do that. Let's pop the profiler and see. Let's first get it to here. Commerce Core, advanced options, record, add additional project. Let's hit stop. I guess not nearly as much as I thought. We can go in here. Why did that? How do I get out of this? Load profile. I want to get back to the main commit. So this additional projects, project selection, autocomplete version. Why does one-click demos then keep? I actually don't know how to read the React profiler very well, so I'm just going to stop myself. Project selection. So we have the hooks. We have this value here of title, Braintree, and then the version. So project and version is set here. The problem is we need to see, so this set, so if these change, so if we have a project and we have a version, it's supposed to call the on change, which is this prop, this function we have here, which is set in additional projects to call set additional projects in the launcher context. So that should be this context, which I didn't realize we could actually bubble up and see the data here. So it's not calling this janky logic I wrote before. So let's go ahead and put a debugger statement and try to see what's happening. Because this is not running when it used to, and I expected it to, and maybe it's because we upgraded React. I don't know. React shouldn't have been upgraded, but I don't trust anything. So I hit, all right, so the on change didn't get called. But once I pick this value, we did get called. So let's look at in the closure, we have K is 0. And so K is 0, additional projects, K 0. We have no data here. So the idea is that additional projects K short name is 0, change project short name is Braintree, so they're not equal. Projects K is empty array. So if you didn't know this, you can hover over items inside the Chrome debugger and it will show you the values. I'm pretty sure it's the same in Firefox. So we have, this should evaluate to things changing. So if we step over, all right, we have our data. Can I hide navigator? Sweet. So it even shows it inline. So our additional projects is an empty array. So we have new projects should be that same value. And if we step over, new projects should now equal. Did this stop working like I expected it to? Hold on. Oh, wait, yeah, this actually makes, so project, hold on. So it's supposed to merge in the project. Oh, how did this ever work? Hold on. So one thing I realized is, so we're using the spread operator to do like a merge of the items. But what I just noticed, let's just drop the debugger here. Let's do a git blame. Shoot, refactor the React application and state management. I did copy paste in here. But it should be the change project. How in the world did this ever work? Because we want to merge in the data about the project. Oh, wait. Hold on 1 second. I need to look at the state and it's going to reload. So what happens? Add additional project. We have short name. So we take the additional projects. We take title, short name, version, patches. And we're taking the version from the change version, patches, and we want to merge in the changed project data, which is an object. So why we are merging in project, which has the original data, when really we want changed project? What or how? I don't understand how this ever could have worked. So let's copy this, copy the revision number, and we're going to do some git triage. So if I type in this hash, revert, I don't want to look, show repository at revision, no. All right, so here we go. What if we click, let's see, show repository at revision? Oh, thank you, PHP Storm. Actually, well, the IntelliJ, you know, anything that's built on IntelliJ has this. So let's go, wait, test themes, lib. I want to figure out what happened here, refactor. So it was all inside of the app.js. It was a horribly large file. So let's look for the advanced additional projects. Okay, here we go. So if something was changed, something got renamed when I refactored it, so shot myself in the foot. Because, so what was happening, I think I know what I fixed. So in map, we have project, and then we were using project down here, which was the value we got back from on change, which was causing like a scoping issue. So I renamed it to be changed project, but I didn't fix it here. So I don't know how or why this was working in QA, but it definitely should not have been. So see here, we had just project and version, or I did, and instead I changed to be changed project and changed version, but I did not update this line. So if I go Commerce Core and I pick additional project and I do Braintree, and I do Braintree, I don't know what, that kind of freaked out for a second. Oh, can't perform a React state update on an unmounted object. This is a no op, but indicates a memory leak. Great. Project autocomplete. Here, I'm gonna refresh. Maybe it was just my own doing. Commerce Core. Braintree. Fix that in a second. So, all right, we've got to the point where this is sticking. And if we look at the value, we have the additional project set. So this is now at least correct. So we're getting 8.x 1.3, which is the latest Braintree release. But for some reason, when we did additional project and we did Braintree and we pick it, what? Oh, okay. Dismiss. So we have something weird that's. So when adding. All right. So now we've got another problem where adding a project for the first time causes it to reset. And I'm going to guess because it's resetting the same key. Because if we do, maybe we don't need to do a copy of the array anymore. Although we probably do, because otherwise it has no idea. So what I believe happens is React doesn't do a deep check on project on values. It does like a shallow check, if I recall, for performance. So that's why we have to do a copy. But let's just try. Let's try something, or we'll say const new projects. Or let's back it up. Let's just say, let's even do this. So we just ditched the whole array copy. But I have a feeling this is going to be a bigger problem to solve than just that. Let's add additional. All right, well, that broke. That stopped. What? Really? That fixed it? Okay. Well, let's just even try. Let's just try this. So I feel like I understand some of the magicalness and like how React does things, but here I don't know. I wonder if I feel like part of it has to do with the fact that we're in an anonymous function manipulating data in the state from here with what's been passed to a child. And it just needs to be cleaned up to be, I actually don't know how we would, what we would refactor it to look like, but I feel like it's just something to do with that. So we have 8.x. So you see here, it added the first item, but then when something changes in the child, it doesn't actually update the state. So that is why I guess this is making a copy. That's weird. It works that way, but not when I did the spread operator, it broke. Super confusing. So if anybody watches this like recording or is live and like is a JavaScript guru, I'd be really interested in to know like the internals of what's happening there. Okay, so the provider, let's look at the value, additional projects. So let's say we want to test Commerce Core 2.xdev with changing. Oh, wait a second. So when I changed the version, it caused this to empty out. Project autocomplete. Why did that get cleared? Because it knows that there's something here. So when I changed the parent version, it wiped out the additional projects. You know, why not? Remove, we make the copy, we do a slice and a splice. Applied, oh, wait, shoot. Okay, because we don't provide default values because everything is wild. So we need to do an initial default project is an array or an object of additional project short name. Oh, I feel like this is just going to get really bad really fast. Oh wait, we don't need, we just need, so hold on. Project, that's right. I hope, let's just see where this gets us. An initial default version equals the project version. So that's gonna be bad. That's not going to work right. Launcher, context, additional projects. Probably get an error. When I click add additional. Yep. Get, okay. Components, additional projects, launcher, additional projects. A selected project, additional projects. So there's patches, short name, version. Okay. We need the set project as additional project. So this needs to have short name is project.shortName from the above. An initial default version is there. Do we set the title? Maybe. We'll say, let's try that. We'll try passing the initial, like the fake object. Use state. Where do we launcher selected project? That's where we provide the default. Where did I add the query parameters? app.js, launcher from components launcher, context. Set main project, search params. So if it has set selected project short name, okay, so here it is. I needed to find like a custom object name in here. So if we could use like a class to do that. But let's go. This should have been reloaded. So I think this should fix it now because we're providing the short name and an object. We have Commerce Core, do Braintree. We have an error again. Oh no, why is this? All right, version selector, compatibility. Wait, where is this? Compatibility with 925. What caused this to run? Applied core constraint. So if selected project and applied core constraint. Let's just see if I change this. It doesn't clear that out. Let's clear the console. So let's do Commerce Core. All right, so when I click add additional project, applied core constraint, if selected project, oh, because the selected project's not null. All right, so additional projects, we're passing it in if it's not empty. So key project short name. So we don't want, if the project short name is empty, we don't want to pass in a value. So project short name. So if the project short name is not equal to null, so if the project short name is not equal to an empty string, which is the default for a new one, pass that value, otherwise pass null, which should fix that error. Core, add additional project, create no warning, Braintree. We pick 2.xdev. This did not reset. We can pick 8.1.xdev. Let's look at the provider value, additional projects, commerce, Braintree, 1.xdev. Let's click launch. Type. It didn't set the type. Which, like, I don't know why we make that be required, but change project. So it wasn't being, it's not being passed in here. Project selection, initial default project type, initial default project. So on select, selected version. Let's see. Project selection, autocomplete, set selected items, set project. Change. Do a debugger there. It's real close. See, like there, like, oh, that's because it's the on effect right away. Closure, project selection, initial default project is null, which makes project null. Commerce Core, again, this runs. This is where everything is buggier than all get out. So Braintree project is inside closure. Nope. Project title type. So we have it here. It gets set. Why isn't it passing on to here? Change project, short name. Something with the re-render that it gets lost. Oh, I bet that's probably why. Because it's only doing the short name and not passing along the type, title. We need to make a to do. This is a hacky workaround to pass a project object. So this should be type and this should be title. I'm not even going to put it to do. So that was causing, okay, so that was causing the loss of data because I was only passing the short name. So advanced options, add additional project. We have no errors. Braintree. We go in here, changed project, title, type, module. If I pick 2.x, we have no errors. This again runs. It updates because we modified the changed version. So new projects, that matches up great. We click launch sandbox. It's building. So I'm going to actually let this one build through because we should get a 2.x with Braintree 1.x. Let's delete debugger. I'm going to do a production build, or just rather a full build. Review my diffs. So this one is okay. Project selection, we're defaulting from null to an empty string for default version. Removing that anonymous function as a dependency because it was causing circular rebuilds. Adding some prop types in here. Additional projects. Making sure we pass a project shape. Let's see. Commerce 2.x dev, Braintree 2.x dev. That looks good. Oh, that's another bug that we need to fix. It does not match your stability. All right, I have that as another issue too, but I don't think I'll have time to fix it today. Because I'm hopping off the stream in about 5 minutes. So we have that's been reviewed. This has been reviewed. We have the production build. Don't know why I tried to diff that. So fix state management in additional projects. Yeah, we'll leave the full file name. Commit and push. Checks failed, 2 errors. Yeah, that's fine. So we're pushing it to this merge request. So that has a to do in the code, but I never opened an issue. So I'll have to do that. So we have the merge request. Let's make sure it looks good. Mark it as needs review. Let's see, did I comment? Mar opened, adds, fixes, and state management improvements. So at least one bug is going to be fixed. This stability problem, if we look at the to-dos inside of simply test modules, tugboat, believe here it is. So I need to make that an issue because we're going to hit that real quick. People are going to open bug reports for it. This cache tag purging is going to have to wait. Let's see. People are giving feedback. Let's create a new issue. It's not found. All right. One thing I noticed is that Ajax autocomplete 2 returns JSON where SI field appears twice. All right, so I'll dig into that. See, we need to fix. So stable prevents dev alpha beta RC installs. D9 bug report major. You cannot install dev alpha beta or RC releases against D9 due to the minimum stability flag set on Drupal recommended project. We need to modify it in our build. See following error. One thing that I'm really proud of with this is I made sure in our errors to copy the last few lines of code. And that way, if you have a failed build, it's like, bam, here's probably what happened. And so far, it has been spot on. So let's save and get to 8.x, 4.x, check it out. Let's open an issue fork and try to quick fix this. So where was that to do? Right here. You know, way to go me for being like, hey, we need to do this. And then I didn't actually do it. So it's cd stm because we created an stm directory. And composer config minimum stability. Stability dev and prefer stable true. The problem is that now I need to run all the tests and fix the D9 test because we're going to have these 2 extra commands. What I want to do quick, so let's look at our own config, or let's see, minimum stability is dev. What are the options here? It should autocomplete to the schema. So stable. So if I run this command in our repo root, it should be back to dev. Perfect. So first stable is true. Let's again just test this command. False. Okay, that should work. So we can go to the D9 config test, and after we run this, it's going to run those 2 commands. I need to copy and paste them throughout. Did not copy it. Copy, paste. All right, And once I get this merge request up, I have to run because it's time for my son's baseball game. Well, time to get ready for my son's baseball game. So let's just copy paste these in to each test. Should be after. Okay, I'm just going to scroll because it's not any easier collapsing them. All right, let's run the test. We should be green. Perfect. Green. Let's get the issue fork set up. Check out the branch. And configure minimum stability for D9. Let's do commit and push. Open the merge request, and there we go. All right, let's review. This will fix testing dev releases on a D9 core non-D9 sandbox. Just say that. Because it's actually, if you were to test like 9.3.xdev, the minimum stability matches the minimum stability of the Drupal branch, is how it's mapped out to be. All right. Thanks for tuning in for this week's Simply Test stream. Give the new version a try out and let us know of any bugs. And again, thanks to any sponsors that have helped fund the development. Have a good one.